Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scriptures for February the 17th. Our readings for today come out of Leviticus 4 and 5, finishing out Mark chapter 2 and reading the first 6 verses of Mark chapter 3, Psalm 36, and Proverbs 10 verses 1 and 2. Now, Psalm 36 starts off this way. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in his heart. There's no fear of God before his eyes, for he flatters himself in his own eyes, that his iniquity cannot be found out of hatred. This is a really ironic verse because as we start to get into Mark a little bit, you're going to see the Pharisees, who, for the record, probably would have known these by heart. Okay, these guys spent all their days memorizing and studying the Old Testament and the wisdom books, which would include Psalm, all these different things. And yet they come and they see Jesus and his disciples doing things at the end of Mark, like heaven forbid picking grain because they're hungry and they're needing food, or even healing a man on the Sabbath at the beginning of Mark chapter 3. These guys are just completely blinded by what it is that they're supposed to be doing. And it's really cool to actually have a parallel of looking at the law and how God is setting it up in Leviticus, while also reading about Jesus's constant battle with these religious leaders. These are the guys that are supposed to be protecting this thing, that are supposed to be setting it up, and ironically enough, they're completely missing the point of what this is. I mean, in Leviticus 5, we've got the guilt offering, and in Leviticus chapter 4, we're talking about the sin offering, and for as far as the religious leaders are concerned, these guys have sinned. These guys have made huge mistakes, but they're completely missing the point. See, the reason why I think that they're missing the point is because a lot of what you're going to read about in the law is how to stay clean and how to become clean. Cleanliness is a very important aspect of the law, and it's not just physical clean, though there's a lot of rules about that we'll get into. It's also about being spiritually clean and making sure that as you come before God, and as the priests specifically come before God, that they are clean. See, the name Leviticus actually comes out of the priests of Levi, which is Aaron and his sons and his descendants from that point on. They came out of the tribe of Levi, and this book of Leviticus, a lot of it, as we're going to see, has to do with how the priests are supposed to come before God. So as we're getting into these sin offerings and we're looking at these things, we're setting up how to be clean so that these priests can enter into God's presence clean. And yet, as Jesus says in Mark, and as he's talking about it, he realizes and he recognizes that these guys, they've missed it. They've completely missed it. As he says at the end of Mark chapter 2, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, the laws weren't made to keep us from life. No, in fact, the laws were made to help us to have life and life to the full. Unfortunately, how we respond to the law is what gets us into trouble. And as we'll see in other scriptures and as we dive into the New Testament and Paul really kind of unwraps the law and how we are with the law today, we get a better understanding of why the law was something we would never be able to make and never be able to do. But as we read these, I want you to take time as well. Now remember, I told you, dive into the beauty of these things, and the details sometimes a little bit weird. It starts talking about the fat of an animal and what to do with it and stuff. Remember, this is God setting aside his people, the people that he has chosen to represent him and to demonstrate his holiness. Holiness, remember the word holiness? We talked about this one other time. Holiness means to be set apart. That's what holiness means. So when we read later in Scripture that when God tells us to be holy as I am holy, be set apart as I am set apart. So Leviticus is setting us up to be set apart so that we can do this and be the people that God wants us to be. But Jesus is now helping us to recognize that the law needed something else. It needed something more, and that was the Messiah. Okay, so that's kind of our conversation for today. Tune in next time for, more conversations about Scripture. See you then.